What's up, metal brethren? This is Scott Tannic one coming at you again live from the dungeon with something a little bit different than an album review this time. I'm going to do the first in what it's going to be a series of discussion videos. And what I want to discuss and kind of touch on here today is Metallica. This is a very controversial issue, just to say the least. There's a big love-hate relationship going on out there with a lot of you in the metal community with this band in particular. And before I get into that, I want to go into a little backstory with me, myself personally, on this band in particular. Um, some of the first metal albums that I got into at a very young age, at like 10, I got into Quiet Riot's Metal Health was one of the first albums that I ever purchased with my own money. I mowed lawns and whatnot just to get the scratch to get this album. It was tracks like Come On Feel the Noise and Metal Health just like spoke to me at a very young age. Another one that I really got into right off the bat was a little unknown band. I mean, some of you may know them, some of you may not, which is a band called Fastway, and they did a Trick or Treat soundtrack album. I kind of touched on that in one of the first videos that I posted here on the channel, and up until that point, up until I discovered Metallica, I was really into the glam metal bands. I mean, I really listened to a lot of course, Quiet Riot, Fastway, Motley Crue was one that I really just like dove headlong into. Bands like Rat and just a lot of the glam stuff. And then a cousin of mine who died somewhat years later, which is another tragic story that I won't even get into on here. That's kind of a little too personal for this this channel in particular, but he introduced me to Metallica with Ride the Lightning, and I heard it. The first time I put it in the tape deck, I had a little Walkman at the time, and he gave me a dub copy of his copy of Ride the Lightning, and I just was blown away. I was like, I can't believe the music that I'm listening to here, and I was a fan ever since. Um, Went out and bought Kill 'Em All, and up until that point, I think their newest one was Puppets, and with all the tragic death that happened with Cliff Burton, I really didn't know enough about the band at the time to really, you know, get into the band that much. Um, that being said, gonna kind of touch on some issues here with this video that I think kind of need to be addressed. One of them is the trendy hating of this band post Black Album. I think is criminal. I think a lot of you people are just douchebags for turning your back on this band after the commercial success of what the Black Album was. Now, I'm not going to wave the banner for the Black Album because honestly, yeah, I can come to terms with a lot of stuff that you guys are saying. Yeah, they kind of did sell their soul a little bit on this album, but yet at the same time, Metallica hadn't really done anything personal up until this point in their career, and that's where I think the Black Album really shines out amongst anything in their catalog. It's not the catchiness. The thing is, with the Black Album, I have kind of a love-hate relationship. Tracks on there that I enjoy the most are the ones that never made the radio, of Wolf and Man, The God That Failed. Those are the standout tracks for me. Like, if I never hear Enter Sandman again, I think it'll be too soon. I think that is one track that just got shoved down everybody's throats, and I can get behind how a lot of people want to just diss that record. Um, but honestly, there couldn't have been a more perfectly crafted offering by Metallica. Um, Another thing that really kind of irks me when people talk about this band is the sellout aspect of Metallica, and that I don't understand that at all. Why down a band for being successful? I mean, it's like a lot of you metal fans out there like it when their band is like this small and they can fit in your pocket and they feel like it's your band. But when they dare to explore new territories, you want to turn your back on the band. And I think that is the most stupidest thing ever. Um, Metallica to me have earned the right to do a lot of stuff that they've done, especially going into the history of the band. They came up in LA, which was not receptive to the thrash metal style. It was all about the Motley Crues, the Cinderellas, the Rats. It was all about the glam metal style there in LA at that point in time. And, you know, Metallica was against that. They just thought that was the stupidest thing ever. And I kind of agree with them. Kind of looking back on it, starting off as a fan of glam metal and then just discovering this new music, it was just kind of like, wow, that stuff's really watered down compared to what Metallica has to offer. And honestly, especially the first four Metallica offerings, Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Puppets, and Justice, I think some of the musicianship on those four albums alone gives them their legendary status to me. Especially Puppets and Ride the Lightning. Ride the Lightning is probably my personal favorite album by Metallica, just being the fact that it was my gateway drug to this addictive band. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the latter years of Metallica's career, and that's, kind of where a lot of people start to fall off. I can see why. A lot of people came at them about Load. Load is one of those records that I think is just unsung. And some of the comments made by people, oh, well, you guys cut your hair. What the hell? I mean, when is the merit of a band and their music about the length and style of their hair? That's just kind of the most ignorant, juvenile, just retarded comment I think I've ever heard anybody say about Metallica in general. Then you get into albums like Reload, which was pretty much just the leftovers from Load, and they kind of rushed it out just to, keep the machine rolling. And, I like some of the tracks off Reload, but yet at the same time, there's a lot of tracks on Reload that I think just should have never been. But did that make me turn from the band? Absolutely not. Metallica to me is pioneers in thrash metal. I think they're most valid and most important band of the big four. And just how some of you people come at them, it's just really ridiculous to me. A lot of people want to get down on them over the whole Napster thing, and I take great issue with the whole Napster thing for this reason and this reason alone. Metallica are musicians, okay? That's their job. That's what puts bread on their table, what puts clothes on their back. It's what they live for. And think of it on terms of this. You work at a job, very, you go into work every day, you labor at this job, and, they don't want to pay you. You quit that job like that, or do what you can to stop that. And that's exactly what Lars did with the whole Napster thing. Who wants to have their craft out there being pirated by a bunch of douchebags who are too cheap to go out and buy a record? I think that is one of the biggest injustices that's been given to this band. Another thing that really kind of irks me about some of you people who want to just come at Metallica is, the sheer just disrespect that a lot of people want to show this band. And I think that is just, I think you're a freaking poser if you do that, because honestly, I guarantee you at least 95% of you people out there who want to bash and want to just rip down Metallica for what they've done, I guarantee you own those first five records. I'm willing to bet anything on it. And you know what? That's the stupidest thing ever. You're going to sit there and bash on this band, yet you own a majority of their catalog. Could you be more of a poser? Another thing that I really kind of take issue with is, Metallica's getting up there in age. But yet at the same time, they're staying true to what they believe is what they should put out. It's not our place to tell these bands what kind of music to put out, because honestly, Metallica writes from their soul. And, You got like albums like Saint Anger. That's one that I just, as a Metallica fan, I buy almost every record they put out, and I actually, not almost, I do. I've bought every record that's come out besides Lulu because I have no interest in a collaboration with Lou Reed. But Saint Anger, yeah, I'm gonna give all you haters that one. After the title track, I just wanted to throw this thing out the window because it was just horrible. And honestly, them parting ways with Bob Rock after that record, kudos, because Bob Rock, I'm sorry, I think he's a bit of a douche. He's so just outplayed, and he had his time as a producer, and I think the sun has set on that. That being said, when they come back with Death Magnetic, for one, I was really excited about that one, being the fact that they were working with Rick Rubin, who I think is one of the most legendary producers in metal, because the cat has got a catalog of records that he's produced that I think are some of the most standout records in metal. Slayer's Raining Blood, Danzig 2, Lucifuge. I think these are just masterpieces of metal. That's kind of getting off the subject. Thing is, I think it's enough with the disrespect. You know what? Metallica, there's another thing that a lot of people like to say about this band is like, they're all about the money. Hello, I'm going to go ahead and pop your little balloon here. Metallica hasn't done anything for money since the Black Album, and that is the truth. Take it or leave it. That album is the number two selling album of the entire world, and it sells more copies every year than some classics. Second to only Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, which is, you can't say anything about Dark Side of the Moon because it is just a masterpiece of rock and roll. It's just, there's nothing that comes close to it. That being said, I know I keep saying that a lot, that being said, but, I really got to just kind of come at some of you haters and just say, what's your problem? I understand that you moved on from this band and whatnot, but yet at the same time, show some respect. Every time someone comes up to me that's new to metal, and the first band, that I always recommend to them is Metallica. Because Metallica, I mean, honestly, they've done stuff with their career that none of these other bands have done. They've played every continent. They sell out every seat in the house everywhere they play all over the world. And honestly, I think they get better with age. I think James's vocals and his writing style are probably the most personal and most revealing of all frontmen in metal. And just some of the blatant disrespect that a lot of people have for this band just really kind of gets in my craw. Just makes me think, you don't know shit about metal. If you're going to diss this band, you might as well diss Sabbath. You might as well diss Maiden, because those are, in my opinion, the top 3 most important bands in heavy metal are Black Sabbath, Metallica, and Iron Maiden. Just to, be fair, the big 4, they're the top, there's a lot of decent bands. Me, I'm not personally a big fan of Anthrax. I really like Megadeth, but yet at the same time, Dave Mustaine really gets on my nerves with a lot of his crap. Especially the whole thing he had not too long ago with his guitar tech, blaming his guitar tech for him having a shitty performance. And I just think, way to throw somebody under the bus, dude, to kind of alleviate some of the responsibility that you have as an artist. Anyway, what do you guys think? Are you guys a big fan of Metallica? If you are, that's great. If not, at least have some respect and shut your pie hole about the selling out thing. And, just show some respect for the fact that a lot of the bands that are out there now wouldn't come to be if it wasn't for bands like Metallica. But then again, that's just my humble opinion. Why don't you hit me up in the comments and, voice yours. Take it easy, metal brethren. Later on.